Hello children, welcome to Geography class. In this class, we will continue with the remaining part of Chapter 6, Rocks. In the previous class, we had discussed about the meaning of rocks, differences between rocks and minerals. Then we had discussed about the first type of rock, that is igneous rocks. So rock refers to an aggregate of minerals that forms more or less a definite unit of the Earth's crust. In today's class, we shall discuss about the second type of rocks, that is sedimentary rocks. The word sedimentary has been derived from the Latin word sedimentum, which means settling down. The process of weathering and erosion constantly breaks the igneous and other rocks into fragments of all shape and size. The agent of erosion provides the raw material needed to form the sedimentary rocks. The broken material is carried away by running water, wind, glaciers, sea waves, etc., and deposited in the water bodies or in the depressions. The deposited materials are called sediments. The sediments are generally deposited in the horizontal layers or stratas. Thus, the sedimentary rocks are also called as stratified rocks. Several layers of sediments are regularly deposited over a long period of time. The pressure exerted from the upper layer convert this loose rock materials into hard and compact rocks. The sediments also get cemented to form sedimentary rocks. The sedimentary rocks are actually provided by original igneous or other types of rocks. Thus, the sedimentary rocks are also called as the secondary rocks. The main characteristic features of sedimentary rocks are: it is derived from the other rocks. That means the material of sedimentary rocks is derived from the pre-existing or permanent rocks. Igneous rock is the most important source that forms sedimentary rocks, formed through different processes. Sedimentary rocks are formed through different processes and are also classified on the basis of their formation. Sedimentary rocks are comparatively softer than the igneous rocks. It is because the sedimentary rocks contains layer and they are formed by deposition of sediments. The sedimentary rocks make extensive landforms, so that they do not make massive rock forms like batholiths and laccoliths. Constitutes 75% of the surface of the earth. Sedimentary rocks are most widespread on the surface of the earth, and it constitutes 75% of the surface area of the globe. Now let's learn the processes involved in the formation of sedimentary rocks. The process that converts loose sediments into hard rocks is called lithification. The transported sediments, that means the particles that are carried away from their source by the agent of erosion, are deposited layer upon layer. This builds up pressure and temperature. Three processes are involved in turning the loose materials into hard rocks, and they are evaporation, compaction, and cementation. First is evaporation. Evaporation is the process in which water from loose materials is evaporated. As in the case of rock salt, the accumulation of rock salt mainly takes place through evaporation before being compacted and cemented. Next is compaction. Compaction is the process in which sediments, after piling up, are gradually squeezed by the weight of overlaying layers and hardness of underlaying layers. Sand is compacted in this way to sandstone. Next is cementation. Cementation is a process in which particles glued together as mineral solutions hardens. Now let's see the classification on the basis of formation. First one, mechanically formed rocks. The pre-existing rocks are broken into fragments of different sizes by the processes of weathering and erosion. These materials are transported and deposited at suitable places by different agents like running water, wind, glaciers, and sea waves. In this process, the lower layers come under the pressure of the upper layers. These are mechanically formed rocks, and they are also called as clastic rocks. Their main examples are sandstone, conglomerates, shale, loess, siltstone, clay, etc. Next is chemical sedimentary rocks. The running water contains chemical materials in suspension. When this chemically active water comes in contact with rocks, it is able to remove the soluble materials from the rocks. These chemical materials, after settling down, are compacted and cemented to form rocks. The deposition generally takes place in lakes and lagoons. For example, gypsum and rock salt. Rock salt is found in Dead Sea, Aral Sea, and Sambar Lake in Rajasthan. Next is organically formed sedimentary rocks. The organic sediments are derived from the decomposition of plants and animals. They contain large quantities of lime. Limestone is formed by skeletons, shells, and animal remains. These materials, after being settled down, compacted and cemented to form organic sedimentary rocks. The main examples are limestone, corals, etc. The rock like peat, lignite, bituminous and anthracite are termed as carbonaceous rocks. Other types of organically formed rocks are silicaceous rocks. They are formed due to dominance of silica contents. Chalk is a form of carbonate rock. It is formed due to precipitation of carbonate materials. In the ancient past, there were vast swamps of forest regions that got buried and underwent changes to yield fossil fuels. For example, gypsum and rock salt. Rock salt is found in Dead Sea, Now let's learn classification of sedimentary rocks on the basis of agents formation. First one, riverine rocks. Riverine rocks are formed by the alluvial deposits brought by the flowing water of streams. That means these rocks are formed due to deposition of sediments in the riverine environment. The deposition can take place in the bed of rivers or in the flooded plains. Next is lacustrine rocks. Lacustrine rocks are formed on the bed of the lake corresponding to the successive period of deposition. That means these rocks are formed due to deposition and consolidation of sediments in the lake environment. Mostly the sediments are deposited on the floor of the lakes. Next is glacial rocks. The materials deposited by the glaciers are called glacial rocks. They are formed by the glacial deposits in the form of debris. When the glacier melts due to heat, the debris brought by it is left behind in the form of moraines, which forms glacial rocks. Next is Eolian rocks. Eolian rocks are formed with sand particles brought down by winds. That means the existing rocks are broken by the agent of mechanical weathering in the hot and dry areas. This results in the formation of large amount of sand. Winds pick up the sand particle and deposit them at various places. Losses is an important example of Eolian sedimentary rocks. Next is marine rocks. The marine sedimentary rocks are formed due to deposition and consolidation of sediments on the floor of oceans and seas. These rocks are of two types: calcareous sedimentary marine rocks and carbonaceous sedimentary marine rocks. Calcareous sedimentary marine rocks are formed by the deposition of shells and skeletons of sea organisms like corals, clams and oysters. They live on ocean floor and extract calcium carbonate from ocean water. Chalk and limestone are the examples of such rocks, whereas carbonaceous sedimentary marine rocks are formed by the sea plants which remain buried for a very long period. These long preserved remains are known as fossils. Coal, lignite and peat are the examples of carbonaceous sedimentary marine rocks.